Pretty good. How's it going? How you doing?
No.
Just come in, check it out. Just a couple weeks ago.
Here, grab a light. Next Wednesday. Yeah. Little League. They're still going by that?
Alright. So Dan's saying that is I'm trying to remember, it's pretty much a collection of friends, relatives, Facebook friends, Twitter relations, 7 bosses, things like that. Just taking care of what you got to take care of. So I don't ever have to do anything yesterday. Sit in for hours after hours and get or any kind of well, my food says that. You do like to buy like the Atlantic Fair. My brother Tom is here for decorations. Number 2 is reasonably intelligent.
By the way, the first reason is the biggest reason, just because you were desperate.
Are you taking off or you hang out? Okay, well, you know what? I'll put it on the tab. I mean, I got it. So, we have hard tab. Tell me, just hit me up. If you go to the bar, come through this tab, the way just come by. It was great to see the pants. Tom's a big food. I mean, Tom's a big food service in the food industry. He's the kind of guy who gets the jalapeno raspberry jam and marinade for his he's insulted by the vodka. What the hell is it always in the hot stuff?
Sriracha.
By the notion. Brought him in here to get a close perspective. You got the Twin Cities cheesesteak, correct?
Yeah, and this thing looks amazing. Unfortunately, I've got a mic in front of me.
You're going to have to flip mics. Share you mean? Sure. Yes, share this one. Which one are we sharing? That one works? Okay, because this, all right. I need the clown music from the circus. Nah, it's all fine. It's all working. All right, so we're going to share mics. Are we good? Everything good? All right. So anyway, we're talking about what's, for all intents and purposes, a cheesesteak sandwich. But I don't know what makes it a Twin Cities cheesesteak, but it looks damn good. Kobe beef. You got some tomatoes, lettuce. Have you tried the world's greatest French fries yet?
Yes, absolutely. Very good. Very good.
Yeah. So I mean, you got to try the sandwich because we need the on-air review, a little bit of an on-air review.
I have a mic I can eat.
Yeah. Well, go ahead and try it. We will get to some legitimate topics besides my brother's voracious appetite for food as well as other things. Also, the fact that the Vikings, I'm not saying they did the wrong thing by putting Adrian Peterson on the whatever it is I can't perform because I'm in trouble list. But it's just the mob wins. I mean, if anybody's listened to the first two podcasts, you know how I feel about the mob. I mean, the mob can suck it. I hate the mob. The mob is just a bunch of lemmings. Can't think freely for myself. Can't wait to attach a plane. Got to get up early in the morning to stand in line to be self-righteous because that's who we are. We're better than you. We do everything better than you, and we're going to tell you we're better than you in every possible way. I hate the mob. And the mob is led by Mark Dayton. So no, it's not. No, Mark Dayton's not a leader. Mark Dayton's in the middle of the mob. The mob came storming up Summit Avenue, and he decided to jump into it. He leads nothing. All right, Mark Dayton couldn't lead himself to the restroom. I mean, he's not the leader of the mob. He's just a lemming and a part of the mob. But the mob wins. They've taken a guy who's a decent guy, who's got bad parenting skills, and turned him into this freaking monster. Even though he's been here for 8 years, I'm talking about Adrian Peterson, and we've seen him in the community. We know what kind of a guy he is. We've had personal interaction with him. For 8 years, we've known him to be a good, solid, upstanding guy, and we find out that he has very poor parenting skills and needs to maybe some retraining, some re-education in this regard because he goes too far in physically punishing a child, and now he's the goddamn devil, and the whole thing makes me want to puke. I don't see anything changing in this situation anytime soon. We've got word from Rusty Harden, Adrian's lawyer, that there's not going to be any plea bargain on this. That they're more than willing to wait this thing out and take it to trial and fight it in a court of law. So that being said, that means this takes time. It's we're looking at 9 months until a trial can take place. I mean, if there's a plea bargain, this thing could get resolved. You move on, whatever. Harden says no. We're taking it to trial, and that means I think all indications are that. I don't know what would change between now and then, between now and the end of the season, in the minds of the Vikings. If we're waiting for a trial, I don't know why he would play again this year, and it's just a shame. I'm not saying. Again, oh wait a second! I got to do my daily disclaimer. I also got to calm down because I'm frazzled because I've had a horrible time getting here. It's been a hell of a day. So I got to calm down. I got to give my disclaimer that anything I say, for the rest of the show, is in no way endorsing the behavior of child abuse. All right, so all the idiots can just calm down. I'm not endorsing or advocating child abuse in any way, shape, or form just because I hate the mob that is trying to lynch Adrian Peterson. Having said that. Yeah, Adrian, I do believe he's got some issues when it comes to parenting skills. All right, what I see is happening here again. I'll rehash my version of the incident. He saw his 4-year child deck a kid. I mean, just the kid was on a video game where you sit on a pretend motorcycle and play the video game, and the kid decked another kid off the motorcycle, and Adrian, as a father should, stepped in and was ready to administer a punishment. Now, the punishment in the eyes of most, many, if not all, well, I guess not all, but at least most, many, if not most, is that it was too excessive, it was too physical, and it went too far. I agree with that. I mean, I'm not saying I'm the authority. I'm not a parent. I'm not. Tom is, by the way. My brother is. Of at least one child. We're still, PIs are out there working, investigators digging up what they can. But of one known child, he is a parent. So we'll get his parental perspective. In my opinion, but it is just an opinion, he went too far. But does this make him an abuser? Does this make him a child abuser? Not Tom, Adrian Peterson I'm talking about. Does this make him an animal, a monster, somebody who needs to sit out an NFL season to pay for this mistake? Or are we just looking at somebody who was raised a certain way, and that the way he was raised did not allow him to ever acquire the proper parenting skills, and now maybe just there's some retraining, some re-education that needs to take place. Tom, let's start with the first. You're the first parent whose perspective I've sought out on this, How were you offended when I'm sure you've seen the pictures with the welts and the broken flesh and whatever the damage caused by the switch. Initial reactions from a parent when you saw that, and any kind of emotional. We'll get into the rational responses later, but your initial emotional response to seeing that as a parent.
Well,
Take the microphone. I don't want to hold it.
let me set up a little bit of background here first. My daughter is about a year younger, so she's a 3-year-old.
Pain in the ass, though. No, I'm just kidding.
Not a pain in the ass. She's a beautiful girl, sweet girl. There is a big difference between girls and boys in the way they play. My girl does have trouble hitting kids. It's tough figuring out a way to discipline them properly. I really don't.
You mean she does hit? She likes to hit other kids. Okay, so she doesn't have trouble hitting them. She's good at hitting them. Okay, that was very misleading. She's a hell of a hitter.
And unfortunately, due to my divorce, I'm limited. I'm handcuffed to timeouts. But I don't see one incident as child abuse. I see it as going a little overboard. If this was a pattern, if 10 cases of this came up against Adrian Peterson, then I'd be, yeah, this is child abuse. He's a child abuser. I think it's a little jumping the gun in one incident to label him a child abuser. That said, I can't see raising my hand to my child myself. Come pretty close at times. Kids have a way of testing your patience, and it gets even tougher when another kid's getting bullied by your kid. And then you kind of have to draw the line because bullying is a major issue. What's difficult for me is he's not a full-time parent to this child. So it's tough to say how much of this discipline the child's going to understand and how much of it is weekend daddy coming by, lashing me with a stick, and just kind of letting it go from there.
Yeah, that's an angle that I hadn't thought about. He's not the full-time parent. Does that matter? I don't know. I mean, does a part-time parent have less right or responsibility in the physical discipline of a child? I don't know. I'm not sure that a parent can or should look at it that way. Again, I'm not a parent, so I don't have that perspective. And who knows? I mean, these baby mamas, she probably said, "Go down there and misbehave. Get yourself going. We need a lawsuit against Daddy. We got to get into Daddy's pocket a little deeper." I'm just kidding. I would hope that nobody's that manipulative or evil. Although pro athlete baby mamas, they push the envelope. There's no doubt about that. Plus, your kid is just too damn cute to want to ever hit. I mean, you'd have to be a freaking monster to ever want to raise a hand. Are we trying not to say her name? You not want her? Do you mind? Okay, her name's Nora. I just didn't want to refer to her as like Mystery Child 1 or Mystery Child 2 or something. Her name's Nora. She's like the most adorable little blonde-haired girl you've ever seen in your life. And if she shot a man in the head, I think I'd have a hard time raising a hand against her. I mean, she's just the cutest thing ever. If she was possessed by the devil, it doesn't matter. She's too cute to ever want to. Even a little swat on the diapered bottom, or the pull-ups bottom, whatever the hell she wears. I mean, I'm not getting into your kid's underwear here or anything. There's no details. Let's just relax. Let's back up. I just don't want to. I don't want to administer a spanking and hurt the little kid. That's all. But the fact that Peterson is now, what's the list called? Let me get the article. They've got lists for everything. This is not the pup list. This is not the. I mean, what did I call it? I've got myself in too much trouble to be allowed to play because the mob is pissed off at me list or something. I mean, they've got some really specific non-playing lists. Here it is. I got it. It's, oh, Jesus. Yeah, I've lost it again. If one thing has been proven beyond any reasonable doubt in the first 3 days of this program is I cannot multitask. I mean, I can't read while I take a dump. I mean, it's pathetic. I can't multitask. There's no chance I could ever do two things at once. But so the Vikings put them on a list. We have one thing we haven't delved into. I mean, we've talked about the mob mentality. We've talked about the tentacles of what is and what isn't abuse, and how much it sucks to have Mark Dayton as a governor. There have been a lot of little avenues we've gone down. We haven't talked football at all, which pisses me off because I kind of like football. I think most of the people who listen kind of like football. Interested in the Vikings, want to know how things are going. And I tell you what, I would speculate before the season started. With all things being in place, or at least as in place as they can be. I thought the Vikings were a 9-17, and a team that maybe if they, picked up an unexpected win or two along the way could push for a playoff spot. Without Peterson, 4-12. I mean, seriously. I mean, what do you think? Do you think he's 5 wins a year? I mean, I saw a completely inept and lost offense against the New England Patriots. Now, it might not be fair to draw complete conclusions off that because that team was effed in the head. I mean, when you lose a stand-up guy, I mean, to start your team and a real solid stand-up guy to something potentially this egregious and just shocking to think that, oh, God, did he abuse a child? That screws everybody's head. I mean, everybody in that locker room, they had to be zombies for the 36 hours leading up to that game. So I can't draw complete conclusions, but the offense was off the tracks. I mean, the offense was as inept as it could be. 4 picks from a quarterback who, the protection was not good, and he was flustered a number of times. But you realize on the 4 picks, each of them came with a 4-man rush, none of them with a man in his face. So they were not pressured interceptions. They were just a guy screwing up, making bad decisions and bad throws. And I have a reasonable amount of respect for Matt Castle. I don't think he's the answer. I don't think he's special. I think he's middle of the road, but I think he's a good caretaker for the position until you have Bridgewater ready. I thought against the Patriots, against Brady, against his old team, his old mentor, I thought this guy would step up and do something. But the whole thing was just such a train wreck. I mean, he was awful. The line was awful. Khalil looks like sophomore slump is now leaked into junior year. I mean, there's all of a sudden there seem to be multiple issues with an offense that has pretty damn good talent. I mean, it really does. And this is not a homer perspective. Jennings is still an elite slot guy, inside receiver. We know what kind of a star in the making Patterson is, what an athletic freak he is. You put Peterson in the mix with Rudolph, and if you just stay healthy, get play from the offensive line, and figure out your quarterback situation, which I'm pretty confident that Bridgewater is going to be a pretty solid guy down the road for you, and maybe who knows, down the road could be October. But this team has good enough offensive talent to be a winning football team. The defense we know is hit or miss. It's leaky. But I do believe with aggressive approach of Zimmer, who is a defensive guru, and the fact that you do have some playmakers, that it's a defense that while it may leak and give up some yardage, I believe they got enough big plays in them to cover up to not be a disaster. They'll never be. They won't. This group won't be elite. This group can be big play enough to get by. I mean, I kind of like to use, even though the preseason doesn't mean anything, but it does give me a kind of an example, a template. The Kansas City game. That's a game where the Vikings gave up some yards, gave up some drives, but made plays when they had to keep the Chiefs out of the end zone. I think they had a couple picks in the end zone, or just they got some takeaways when they needed them. But I think that's the kind of defense that this team is going to be capable of playing this year. Now, if you took that and mixed it in with the offense that I was just talking about, the guys with the skill positions that we were just talking about, you'd be looking at a team, again, that had... And let's not forget, 2 years ago, was it 10-6 or 11-5? Whatever the hell it was. They were a playoff team 2 years ago. They were a team that had a hell of a run, double-digit wins, and came back the following year and had a slew of bizarre last-minute losses and an even equally bizarre slew of bizarre coaching decisions that included having the wrong guys on the field at the wrong time while the wrong guys were sitting the right guys were on the bench at the wrong time. The underuse of Cordero Patterson, of Xavier Rhodes. Where was Sharif Floyd for much of the time? I mean, there were just a lot of guys who just weren't in there playing when they should have been. Guys who were getting killed, used and abused on a regular basis. So it was a poorly coached, mismanaged roster that also had some horrible luck in last-minute meltdowns. So really, to think that they could more closely resemble the team of 2 years ago is not a stretch. From a talent perspective, the talent's even upgraded from that point. The coaching staff certainly upgraded from that point to this point. So I don't think there's a stretch at all going in to think that they could rebound to the 9 to 10 win range and have a shot. But I tell you, I don't know what entirely to make of the New England game from an offensive standpoint. I mean, I'm shocked by the poor performance of your quarterback and just some general mishaps on the offensive line. But again, Tom, we've seen things happen to teams off the field. We've seen things happen where players suffer an off-field disaster or tragedy, a car accident, or they God forbid, some of the suicides we've seen in recent years and things of that nature, holding the girlfriend at gunpoint. You see weird things happen to teams, is the point, with the off-field problems. And those teams typically wither. I mean, they typically take a blow that they just can't recover from. And I'm not saying the Vikings won't recover from it, but I am willing to maybe give just a little bit of slack, when it comes to a really, really god-awful offensive performance at home against New England. Let me hand the mic over here for a second.
Well, one thing you have to remember with playing New England, Belichick's going to take advantage of any mistake you make. And that was shown. They scored, 17 points off of 4 turnovers. It's tough to come back from that. He's just too good of a coach to make mistakes repeatedly. But all I have to say is Gurley. I want Gurley in purple. This Adrian Peterson thing kind of opens it up. I'd love to see Bridgewater and Gurley in the backfield. But, that's just me dreaming being a homer. But, you look at, say, Miami had Brandon Marshall a couple years ago, and his rap sheet is longer than, the Nicollet Mall here. And, they struggled. He goes to Chicago, cleans up, and look at what a player he becomes once he straightens out. And you think, what could Miami have done if he was able to stop hitting his wife or his girlfriends and, actually be on the field? And, you can't underestimate what it is having a key player on the field for every play.
Yeah, well, and people are starting to sour a little bit on Peterson on the field, and that's so ridiculous. Here's what I was really looking forward to. You saw what happened week 1. I mean, it's the same old. 8, 9 in the box. Just no room for Peterson. He's getting worn down. But all of a sudden, the Vikings are starting to show that if you have a quarterback with a grasp of the offense who can make a decision in the pocket in a timely fashion, deliver the ball on time. Not that Castle's anything special. But, I mean, that was the problem with Ponder. Ponder doesn't make a read. He doesn't make a decision. He doesn't get rid of the ball quickly enough, and the timing in these timing routes goes to hell. And, people jump into passing lanes, pick six the other way. And, it's a matter of making good, solid decisions and delivering the ball on time. But you watch that St. Louis game, and you see Patterson making plays. You see Jennings become a factor. You see Rudolph having a good game. And my first thought after that game was, what happens, if this continues, if this is a trend, not a mirage, what happens in the next few weeks? Do people have to start? Do defensive coordinators have to start dropping some guys out of the box? Do they have to start respecting other elements? And if they do, are we just going to rip them apart with the running game? Well, not anymore. I mean, they can drop whoever they want out of the box. You're not going to win. All due respect, he's not a bad player. He's a fine backup. You can't give it to Asiata 25 times a game and think you're going to win. Not in the NFL. You can't. That's currently the league in which we reside. So that's the pesky problem. I was really looking forward to seeing the possibility of Peterson getting carries against like 7 in the box, and 7 is a lot. I mean, 7 is still kind of a tough thing to run against, but we take that. We're taking that in a heartbeat. And we're not going to see it. And I want to get into. I want to do some ripping here because we are spitting distance from Target Corporate. I can't do 2 things at once. This is going to be a freaking train wreck. You want me to tweet something right now, really? So you tweeted it and you tagged me on it. You tweeted? You did tweet it? So I got to go to my Twitter. Hang on, people. I'm now tweeting the live link because we still have 34 minutes live. So hang on. No, I'm not ripping you. I'm just saying I'm just an absolute idiot when it comes to why did you do this when he was on the mic? You just had a long tirade. He just handed me the mic, and now you got to do this. I'm almost there. Oh boy. Where is it, Sean B? God. There's the pic. God bless me. See, I knew this was going to be a train wreck. You know what? I found it. I found it. Okay, retweet. There it is. No, I got it. It's tweeted. It's retweeted. It's retwittered. It's out there. The live link. The live link is out there. So we're good. Is that mic working now? Are we a 2-mic program? Well, yeah, but I could hear you before the show started too, and he still got rid of it. We good? We good? Okay, all right. Well, we're good. We're gonna stop worrying about it. We are spitting distance from Target Corporate here, and I've got multiple bones to pick. Number one, that's the first one. Well, that's the first one. They fired they let my brother go. This past summer. So screw you, Target. And as we sit here. It's really bizarre. I noticed it the first day we were here. As we look out the window, it's basically what I picture, those white-collar country club prisons, that embezzlers go to. It looks like a prison yard from one of those kinds of prisons. It's got an outdoor basketball court. It's got, comfortable wicker chairs with umbrellas. It's got a bocce ball lane or whatever the hell it is. It's got Adirondack chairs. It looks to me like it's all completely enclosed. It's all completely enclosed, by these buildings. It's completely landlocked. So to me, it looks like a white-collar embezzler prison yard where I don't know, 50-something-year-old white guys go out and try to be bad. But it's an exercise area for Target. But now you are really messing with the show. 'Cause you made me go to Twitter, and I had an article that I was just about to reference. And I got to get it back. Oh, there you go. Okay, Target. Here's why Target can suck it. They're firmly on the mob mentality bandwagon. Target is firmly doing the carrying the torches and searching for Frankenstein. As this is from the Star Tribune, Minneapolis-based Target told its stores on Wednesday to remove all Peterson-related merchandise from its sales floors. Peterson was featured in an exclusive line of football T-shirts sold at Target this fall in partnership with Pro Merch that featured dozens of players. A shirt that featured Peterson showed him on one knee, smacking the hell out of his kid, and I'm just kidding. Showed him on one knee, looking up to the sky with the phrase "Purple Rain" superimposed on top. Quote, taking into account the feedback from our guests, in other words, the mob, and in light of team's most recent actions, we are opting to remove Peterson merchandise from our stores and Target.com, said Molly Snyder. Is that the biatch who fired you, Molly Snyder? No, it's not. Okay, you need the microphone to talk. But no, okay, Molly, you only have one strike against you then, not two. You lucked out on this one. But, I mean, I can understand, the Radissons and the Nikes and the Targets of the world getting off the bandwagon, because when you buy a sponsorship, and we talked about this yesterday, when you sponsor an entity like the Minnesota Vikings, you're buying a reputation. You're buying their good name. When Purina One, when I did Purina One ads on the Fan years ago, it's not because Purina One thinks I think it's delicious dog food. I'm not enjoying it myself, but they thought at the time I had a reputable name and they wanted to attach themselves to my reputation. That would certainly change in the near future, but nonetheless, I digress. The point is, when you buy a sponsorship, you're buying somebody's good name, their reputation, and when that is besmirched by whatever. You're a corporate entity. You've got to lick your finger and stick it up to see which way the wind blows. It is what it is. I wish politicians like Mark Dayton sure as hell stopped doing it. But corporations, you got to do what you got to do. There's money on the line, and you got to follow the mob. But the mob is what's just so disgusts me. Again, I mean, because a man. He didn't cause any permanent damage to this child. I mean, physically. I mean, there's no permanent physical injury. This will heal. We will move on from this. It was a mistake. He shouldn't have done it. He went too far. He's got poor parenting skills. But should he sit out an entire year of a National Football League season? Should he be viewed as a monster, just vilified in the town where he has been an upstanding athlete and citizen and contributor to the society for 8 years? That's the other thing that bothers me about this, and we've mentioned this as well. He's not new to this community. He's not a free agent that you brought in this year with no background. He's been here for 8 years doing the right thing, being a good guy, being in the community, going out and meeting and greeting and shaking hands and slapping backs. And he's a credit to the community. He's a philanthropic guy. He's a friendly, gentle guy. He's not a physically abusive monster. But the mob mentality, they hear, that something has been done that involved, a child being hurt, which is ghastly. Nobody would ever endorse any harm coming to a child. I mean, maybe like an 8-year-old Hitler, but that's an extreme example. And really, who saw that coming when you think about it? But I digress once again. The fact is that once the momentum is gained and the people start going crazy in one direction against an individual, it's a very difficult tide to stem. You just. There's a friend of mine. I know this guy. I know this guy must be looking for me because I know. This lost, confused guy, Tom. Oh, that's Tom Vandalist, isn't it? No, I swear to God, I know that guy. I'm just freaked out. I know that guy. He's pretending not to know me. Screw you. That guy's pretending not to know me to make me look like an ass on my podcast. I know that guy, and he just pretended not to know me. That's it. That's the last straw. I could swear that's Tom Vandalist. But anyway, I digress. He used to be an Interlochen food and beverage guy. He got me free golf at the country club. But apparently it's not him. Sorry. So now I'm completely flustered. It's been that kind of day. But I would like to eventually talk about something other than the Vikings, or something other than Adrian Peterson, something other than my disdain for Mark Dayton, and I'm just like sweating bullets. I mean, once again, I'm the sweaty guy in the bar, and I absolutely cannot. I'm so sick of being the sweaty guy in the bar. It's because I get so worked up. What you have? What are we looking at? Okay. Explain this to me. Here, you take the mic.
I just handed you an article. It's called "Why the 49ers Are Doing the Right Thing with Ray McDonald." This is a guy that's been arrested for domestic abuse in August. The 49ers are choosing to play him while they're waiting for his trial. And here, this is an article on CNN saying they're doing the right thing for him. They're doing the right thing for the team. They're doing the right thing in general by letting this guy play. Now, I got to wonder, why such heat for Adrian Peterson when guys like Greg Hardy and Ray McDonald are kind of slipping under the radar. One thing that got missed last week is it was an hour and a half before game time before the Carolina Panthers decided to sit Greg Hardy. And this is a man who's already been convicted of domestic abuse.
I tell you what, here's how backwards people. This is how backwards the general population thinking is on this. They think that domestic assault is less of a big deal than what Adrian Peterson is accused of, because it involves two adults as opposed to an adult and a child. But here's where the population, the general population, the mob, couldn't be more wrong. When a man lays his hands on a woman, that's a beautiful idea for a song. Where's Michael Bolton when you need him? But when a man gets physical with a woman, sure, it's two adults, but there's no justification. I mean, you do not punish a woman unless she's into the whole dominatrix thing. There's no reason to punish an adult. You know what I'm saying? A woman cannot do something that would possibly justify you taking any sort of action to punish her. Adrian, I mean, I'm a big believer in intent. I think intent matters. I think intent matters a lot. If you are intending to punch a woman in the face, you are an inexcusable asshole. I mean, there's no way around it. Adrian Peterson is a father who saw his child misbehave and realized I've got to punish him. That is dead on straight right thinking. I mean, he's not being evil, twisted, manipulative, aggressive. He's not any of those things. He's just a dad who's got to punish a child who is misbehaving. To me, that matters. To me, that is a huge separator between what Adrian Peterson is accused of doing and any domestic assault case. That's why any domestic assault is far and away more serious than what Adrian Peterson did. You can't tell me that this McDonald, allegedly slapping around his wife and or girlfriend, whatever the hell it was. You can't tell me that is absolutely a more egregious act than a father punishing a child who deserves punishment, but just going about it in a completely inappropriate way. The domestic assault is far more egregious. The people out here just they see that a kid's involved and they get on their self-righteous podium or the soapbox and just want to hang a guy high. Just get the lynch mob. Here we go. You've got to look at some of these other factors and the motivation that's behind it. Don't you see that there's a big deal, the intent and why something like this happens? Because there's nothing wrong with punishing a child in that situation. Just know how to do it.
Right, I completely agree with you on the intent. His intent was to discipline his child. Did he go too far? Yeah, probably. But you take a look at the case of Greg Hardy, where he grabs his girlfriend, wife, whatever, and throws her into a porcelain bathtub and then starts dragging her from room to room, hitting her. That, to me, sounds a little more severe than a switch to a child. Obviously, one thing that's really bothered me about all this stuff, Ray Rice flew under the radar until there was video. Adrian Peterson flew under the radar until there was a picture. Greg Hardy and Ray McDonald are still kind of flying under the radar because there's no visual aid for the public. For some reason, whatever reason, the public needs to see what's going on to understand. For some reason, words alone aren't doing it. If words alone did it, Greg Hardy would have been sitting well before Adrian Peterson was sat.
All right, in the first place, how dare you come on my podcast and make the most valid point of the entire program? Now I've got 24 minutes to up you, or I'm just going to be one-upped by my younger brother. You would think that, I mean, if Hardy's girlfriend, wife, whatever it was, I assume called the police. This one, he got prosecuted. He got, whatever. I would think that there are pictures. I would think that the police would have, at some point, or the hospital, whatever, would have taken pictures as evidence. So I'm sure there's got to be some visual evidence of that. But you're right. Nothing makes an impact. Like visual evidence on people. You could be as descriptive as humanly possible, but nothing's going to make as big an impact. And I when I saw the pictures of the child, I thought to myself, why the hell is this being put? This is a minor. I mean, who's putting these out? I mean, and I'm guessing that the mother must have approved it, but what kind of a mother subjects her child to that kind of exposure because she wants to win a case? She wants to bring a civil suit? I don't know what it is, but how come this mother's not being criticized at all for allowing pictures like that to be public? I think there's something wrong with that.
While we're on the subject of media, since when is TMZ a respectable news source? That's something my mom watches to catch up on celebrity gossip. And here now they're suddenly the they're the front runner. They're the CNN. They're the Fox News, and
Anything sleazy.
anything sleazy, exactly. And most diligent, my ass. They're the most corrupt. They're the ones. They're literally the guys hiding in the bushes. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody was sitting on Peterson's property when the incident went down.
Yeah, don't get me started on TMZ. I'm not going to call it a news organization. It's crap. I mean, it's an organization that has made their name and their money by exploiting the so-called personal lives of very public people, and then you get into the point of does somebody who puts themselves in the public spotlight deserve any privacy or public or private life? And yes, they do. They do. Not to the extent that we do. I mean, sure, there's going to be more interest in what they do, and they understand that. Doesn't mean you have no right to privacy whatsoever. And the folks who started up TMZ, they have no respect for anybody's life, their privacy, their personal rights, their personal space. TMZ is a disgusting, pathetic, sleazy organization. Now, having said that, it doesn't discredit all the reporting that they do. I mean, it doesn't mean that they're not capable of coming up with a legitimate story or reporting on something that matters. And in this case, they have. It's a legitimate story, and it is something that matters. But, they're a god-awful, sleazy organization that only exists because they were able to build, a fame and fortune off the misfortune and the exploitation of others. And it's a disgusting world in which we live. That there's a radio station in town that works for a company that is part of a company that I used to work for. That makes me wretch. It makes me wretch because they are nothing but celebrity gossip. There's TV stations, radio stations exist for nothing but the dissemination of celebrity gossip, and it just tells me what a petty, pathetic society we're living in. When people give a damn what Bruce Willis had for breakfast, I mean, it just go away. TMZ, My Talk, all of you, go the hell away. And I work down the hall from My Talk, and I know some of the people on My Talk. I'll say again, My Talk, suck it, go the hell away. Nobody cares about I shouldn't say that. People do care. And again, it gets back to the mob. Screw the mob. The mob's got to stop caring about who's dating who and who's sleeping with who and who's cheating on who. And it's just the whole thing makes me just sick to my stomach that we live in a society where, like you said, people who hide in bushes and hop out and catch you when you're getting a little Hummer in the back seat are considered news organizations. Leave the Hummer guy alone. I mean, just let him. When I say Hummer, I'm talking about the vehicle, not the SX act. So just relax, everybody. Just relax. I had to clarify for the sake of everybody involved. So what do we got here? I'm just going to take a quick time. So we got about 20 minutes left in the program. Do we want to talk about something sports related? Is there anything sports related in the world that is worthy of our attention? Because I'm sick of the sleaze. I'm sick of the mob. I'm sick of the word switch. Is there anything worthy of our attention right now?
I'm going to make a slight transition. This is going to cushion it going from the sleaze and the mob into sports. I was sent a petition today on change.org, and it's something I've been waiting for since the Moss Mooning incident. Change.org, petitions, different petitions, anything you want, from saving your local garden to, actually world-changing type petitions.
Yeah.
This one I've been waiting for since the Randy Moss Mooning incident in Green Bay, where Joe Buck flipped out and called it the most disgusting thing he's seen on TV. Evidently, he hasn't seen himself on television, but
Big Brother.
or Big Brother. But there's a petition on change.org. I'm going to appeal to the masses that JJ just insulted to say, there's a petition out there to ban Joe Buck from broadcasting Viking games. I'm trying to form a mob to ban Joe Buck from broadcasting Vikings game. I am sick of hearing him. I'm sick of his elitism. I can't stand him as an announcer. I would rather have Helen Keller calling Vikings games than Joe Buck. So the petition's out on change.org. This is my little push to make the world a little bit better place. Anybody that's interested, anybody else that has a bad taste in their mouth from Joe Buck, just like me, step up.
I'll say this. I think he's a good broadcaster, and I don't dislike his work. However, if I were going to characterize him to somebody who doesn't know anything about him, and they wanted me to describe Joe Buck to them, I would say think of every villain in any Adam Sandler movie. He's Shooter McGavin. He's like the rich, snobby, smarmy. He's the Shooter McGavin of broadcasters. I mean, does that not pretty much sum it up? I mean, go through. He's the guy in Mr. Deeds, with the wavy dark hair. He's just the smarmy, evil, rich guy who nobody in the world can relate to. Who probably has no friends. Shooter McGavin, I think, pretty much sums it up. But I mean, you can go through any Adam Sandler movie and pick out the bad guy. I mean, he's the embodiment of Joe Buck. It is what it is. He's almost kind of like a bully. He's like a bully version of Niles Crane. He's just like a smarmy, nerdy, pencil neck. But I mean, having said that, I don't dislike his calls. I think he's a solid broadcaster, does a good job, and I don't mind listening to him. I mean, you typically get him and Aikman like in the second half of a Fox doubleheader because it goes out to a larger audience. I think they do a good job. I get to there and listen to him. I wouldn't want to have a beer with him. You'd have to chain me to the table to have a beer with Joe Buck. But I can listen to him do a game. Thank you very much. As I go to Diet Coke number 2, we have me having beers with people. What a novel concept. But he's just not out. I think he's a good broadcaster, but not a very likable guy. And when it comes to who we like and dislike in the media, whether it's newscasters, sports broadcasters, I think it does break down into 2 categories. Their skill as a broadcaster, their acumen, and their likability. I mean, Howard Cosell, I think, was one of the all-time great broadcasters, and nobody likes him. I mean, by all accounts, just he was an ass. Not to speak too ill of the dead, but it is what it is. But I mean, there are guys out there who you just think, this guy's he's not the most polished, kind of guy out there, but he seems like a real likable guy, Puffy, and so I like. So he gets by with being less than a professional broadcaster. Puffy.
Now that JJ's got his ass out of Joe Buck's our business, I agree with you. There's likability and there's skill. Very few people have the likability of, say, like a Kirk Herbstreit from College Game Day, where people just fawn over him, and it's. From a Vikings fan's perspective, we usually get the bottom of the barrel when it comes to broadcasters. Unfortunately, when we don't get the bottom of the barrel, we get Joe Buck.
You mean from Fox? You don't mean locally? You're not talking about my friend. No. You're talking to the guys from Fox. Locally, we have outstanding broadcasters.
Yeah, let me clarify that in case there's any job opportunities for JJ or myself. To me, it's a personal thing with Joe Buck. I personally, being a Vikings fan, love the Randy Moon. We'll call it the Randy Moon. It was something lighthearted. It was not overly offensive. It's something that Green Bay fans have been doing to visiting teams for years. And at the time, Fox has some of the worst broadcasting that's out there. It's smutty. I think they had Temptation Island on at the time. And Joe Buck's calling this fake moon the most disgusting thing he's seen on television.
You're a Simpsons scholar. What was their they had lampooned one of those shows like Temptation. I think they called it Adultery Island or Adulterer Island. That's basically what Fox has is Adultery Island. It is pretty hypocritical to speak out against it. But but Aikman is a good example, I think, of somebody who's good and likable. I think PA and Bursic locally, I've been very good, and very likable. Bursic is salt of the earth. And obviously, I'm good friends with Paul Allen, but Pete Bursic is. I think I'm almost shocked that he hasn't moved on to bigger and better. Not that the Vikings Radio Network and the Fan Radio Network aren't good gigs, but I kind of thought, early on that Bursic has got network written on him. I've written all over him. He is knowledgeable. He's got great stories. He's a likable guy. My favorite Bursic story might have been when he got a job interview from Belichick. I mean, he got called in to interview for a job on the Patriots staff, and just it tells you just how much homework NFL teams do and how they're just not afraid to use any resource possible to get to whatever they want. That basically Bursic found out, he was able to read between the lines on this quickly, that it was when the Patriots were considering trading for Randy Moss, and they basically brought him in there and pumped him for information on Randy Moss. That was the extent of it. I mean, they sat him down instead of interviewing him for like a linebacker coach job or special teams coach job. they asked him about what kind of guy Moss is, how's he in the locker room, how's he this, how's he that, because they're trying to vet Randy Moss and whether or not they wanted to go get him. But that just tells you, I mean, they'll fly a guy across the country under the guise of a job opportunity just to pump him for information on a player that they know they're going to go and get anyway. But just the kind of interesting behind-the-scenes kind of things that Bursic has to share. He's got some really, really good not fun stories, but intriguing stories that I would have never thought they'd do something like that. I mean, to make a guy think you got a legitimate opportunity for him and fly him across the country for an interview that's just a chance to pump him for info on somebody. And what would he have possibly said that would have made Belichick not go get Moss? I mean, they were going to do it anyway, and they should have. And it certainly paid dividends. But the whole. Joe Buck. Well, here's the thing: you can get your petition going. Back on point. You can get your Joe Buck petition going and get it signed and keep him out of the mix. But when's the last time you did a Viking game anyway? I mean, we don't ever get the A squad. When do we get the top broadcasters for Fox at all? I mean,
that's a good question. Definitely wasn't when we were 5-10-1. I'll tell you that much. Probably 3-4 years ago since we've had top-notch broadcasters. But like I said, it's my own personal opinion. I don't consider Joe Buck top-notch. I can listen to Aikman. I can look at Aikman because.
Who do you like on Fox? That's the number 14. Who do you like on Fox?
Oh, boy. Who do I like on Fox? I usually put it on mute. To be honest, I actually like the local calls better than I do the national calls, and a lot of times I'll watch the game on mute just because the calls are better.
Well, and you know what you cannot do anymore? I don't know if people really ever did this, but they turn down the sound, they turn up the radio. You can't do that anymore because no matter where you're watching the game, what kind of feed, they all come across at different times. Like if you lined up 3 TVs next to each other and had DirecTV, your local cable company, DirecTV, Dish Network, and Internet. Like I bring it in on Holiday on the Internet from time to time. Those will all be staggered. They're not coming across at the same time. So to try to match up. I mean, it's not like some stoner with the Dark Side of the Moon and the Wizard of Oz trying to sync things up. You've got no chance of getting Paul Allen's call to match. I mean, I suppose you do have a chance because a broken clock's right twice a day. So I mean, you might hit it just by chance. That where the calls line up. But the ability to turn down the TV sound and enjoy the call of Paul Allen and Pete Bursic, you really got to go one or the other. You can't have a cake and eat it too. We got about 10 minutes to go. I want to review the sandwich and the fries.
Well, I have to tell you,
their sponsor.
Other than getting ketchup with my food, the fries are fantastic. The sandwich is one of the best I've had, to be honest.
Now, can you tell the difference with Kobe beef?
Kobe beef to me is a little more tender, a little more flavor to it. Mostly for me, it's a texture thing with Kobe beef.
Yeah. I tell you what, though, yesterday, what blew me away were the fries. I mean, I read the disclaimer. I'm full of disclaimers. But I'm no foodie. I'm no gourmet. I'm no yuppie. I don't go around looking for these fancy little artistic-looking entrees that are about the size of a small appetizer, but they got something drizzled over the top of them so they look good. I don't go for any of that crap, but I know my way around a French fry. I mean, I'll tell you right now, the French fry alone is what's kept Burger King third wheel in the fast food wars and always will. They can't master the French fry, and it's done them in. But these are I can't think of a better fry I've had than these. I really can't. I'm not just stroking a sponsor.
Well, without stepping in the kitchen, I can tell you, to me, they seem like they've been double fried because they've got the real crisp outside, real tender inside. Jeez, I sound like I'm on the Food Network here now. But you did bring up Burger King. They are trying everything to compensate for their fries, though. They've got they've got burgers for breakfast. How can you beat a nice, fat, greasy burger for breakfast?
No. And I've heartily endorsed the burgers for breakfast move on social media, and it's just the greatest idea ever. Although it makes me feel a little sorry for their breakfast items. I mean, who's going to ever get a sandwich again? I mean, the Egg McMuffin won't die because if you buy McDonald's, that's what you settle for. But you're never going to go to Burger King and get a sandwich ever again, are you? Because you can get a Whopper. You can get a double cheeseburger. I mean, I was living in the Lynn Lake kind of area for a year. And I was walking distance to the Burger King there on Nicollet and 34th. And I'm telling you, I lived at that. I mean, as you can see, but they got like a $1.60 double cheeseburger. I mean, you can't beat it. Just forget the fries. Go heavy protein. I would get like a couple, 2-3 burgers. It's like going to White Castle. Like when you're a kid, you go to when you're younger, in your younger years, you go to White Castle, get a sack of burgers. Now with the dollar menus and they had lousy fries, you go to Burger King and get a sack of burgers. But I don't know why the hell am I pimping Burger King when I'm sitting at Devil's Advocate. I mean, you're eating a Kobe beef steak sandwich with the world's best French fries, and I'm talking about frickin' Burger King. Sometimes I got to really get reeled in sometimes. It's really pathetic. I mean, sometimes stream of consciousness is a bad thing.
You did already compare Joe Buck and Howard Cosell, so to me that's the Devil Advocate and Burger King version of com.
In all fairness, I compared Joe Buck to Shooter McGavin. Yes, Joe Buck is Shooter McGavin. Well, yeah, seriously. He's the bad guy, and he's the smarmy, rich antagonist. Okay, Carissa cannot walk by in the middle of a sentence anymore. I have no chance of ever finishing a sentence. What the hell was that? Carissa just walked by, and I was in the middle of a sentence. What's going on? Jesus! Who is this? Get that guy out of here! Is that Carissa's bodyguard? I mean, Carissa's got muscle, and they're coming after me. But, I mean, seriously, I was like in the middle of a sentence, and she walked by, and it was over. I don't even know. Do you remember what I was talking about? Burger King? I was still on Burger King? Well, I can't talk about Burger King. I was Shooter McGavin. I was on Shooter McGavin, so to speak. But, my God, she's got to stop walking by. Or dress a little more conservatively. Here, you gotta take this from me.
Apparently, he's got to calm down a little bit. I would disagree with the statement that she needs to dress more conservatively. She's co-owner of this place. She's got to bring in the business, and she's bringing it in. I got to refocus. I don't know what to do. Somebody slap me. Don't slap me. But I would, but in today's environment.
Can you believe? I don't know what to say. And plus, I don't know. Never mind. I'm just gonna stop right now. I gotta reel it in. By the way, I should mention, thanks to the Stewed Media guys, Stewed Media podcast for having me on their gig today. Sean and Tony, Tony the hipster gangster, and Sean the former fan employee, both working at Channel 4 right across the street here. We got to get them down here. I told them to come on down here someday. With that big, heavy, scary voice. I wonder, will that be on the podcast? Do you think did that go over the air? That scary noise, so people are not going to know what we're talking about. It was unbelievable. Yeah, but nobody's going to know. If no one hears it, they're just going to think that I relapsed or something, and it's not true. It's just not true. The thanks to the Stewed Media guys. I don't. Oh, they're on iTunes. I don't know specifically how to get their podcast, but it comes out on Thursday. We did it today. It'll be available Thursday, and they are available on iTunes. Stewed Media, STEWED Media podcast. So check that out. I swore a lot, so it's definitely worth listening to. I mean, plenty of profanity. They told me not only did they allow it, they encouraged it. And I actually held back. I kept saying bleeping and effing, and I mean, like being like really better behaved than I ever had to be. But we were at some gangster Italian restaurant in Robbinsdale, and Nonna Rosa. God, I hope I got the name right. You know, it's a sponsor thing. Nonna Rosa, I think it was called. Damn good. Pasta bar, a little pasta bar for lunch. Absolutely fantastic. What was it? 5? Do we really have to do the last 3 minutes of the show? I mean, I'm really out right now. I mean, I'm just flat out of material. We got 3 minutes to go. Can we just cut it short, Sean? Jesus Christ, he's just in his own world. He's in his own world. I'm just kidding. Here you go. Yeah, make some small talk and eat your sandwich.
Well, I guess the Minnesota thing is to just talk about the weather. Gorgeous day out there today, huh? Yeah. I've just been handed a mic and told to fill 3 minutes of your show as you're wrapping it up and pimping sponsors.
No, you don't have to do the whole 3 minutes. But yeah, seriously, it is a pretty damn nice day out. But having said that, get a clue. Do some prep work. Find some material. Hey, by the way, I did want to get into this a little bit because not only are you a foodie, but you're just a podcast nerd in terms of explain. I always thought the whole podcasting is a little weird, and now I'm doing it, so I can't really think of it in those terms anymore. But there are people like you who sit at their computer and plug in their MP3 player, whatever, download shows, get in the car, and listen to them. I mean, you never have the radio on. I mean, I never watch TV. You never listen to the radio. But I mean, you've always got something really offbeat on in your car, and the thing that I've enjoyed the most that I've heard driving with you is the Bugle. And so it's basically, people ask what it is. I say it's kind of a Monty Python morning show. Is that how you describe it? It's pretty damn good.
It's almost like The Onion if The Onion was running real stories. John Oliver from The Daily Show. I forget offhand who the other Andy Sortsman, I believe, is the other guy.
They're all British.
They are. John Oliver's on The Daily Show, but he is British. He's got his own show on HBO or Showtime or something now. but basically they just run over some of the weird news, much like The Onion would do. But as opposed to The Onion, they're actual headlines instead of just completely fabricated.
The other thing you listen to that I like, because you and I are both fans of The League. I mean, I soured on it briefly, but I've come back to it big time. But the guys, Andre, the guy who plays Andre, and the guy who plays the really gross brother-in-law, Rafi, the guy who plays. It's hilarious. I still think season 2, episode 1, the Vegas Draft, is the single best episode of a sitcom I've ever seen ever in my life. It's a drop dead hilarious episode of comedy. But they have a podcast where they just basically rip on bad movies. That's not half bad.
Yeah, that's how did this get made. It's Paul Scheer, his wife, and then Jason Mantzoukas. By the way, the Vegas draft wasn't even the best draft in the league. I'd have to say the one where J.J. Watt and Blair Walsh showed up. Yeah, I forget. Spoiler alert. I forget who quit the league. I think it was Ruxin quit the league. So they brought in football.
Spoiler alert! Come on!
Everybody
I'm
quits.
on season 4. Stop it!
Everybody quits the league at least once in the show. You know this.
Well, that's gonna put a wrap on not just episode 3, but an entire week. It's my Friday. It's your hump day, my Friday. So suck it, people. Get back to work. I'm gonna enjoy the weekend. Oh, who am I kidding? I have to move tomorrow. I hate moving. Moving blows. Moving blows. All right, well, that's it. We're gonna be back Monday. I hope.